folks. Welcome to another edition of the Omnist Hour. Turn the music down just a tad. Today's topic is going to be a short one. It's going to be doing a reading from another of the essays that I published recently on my Kindle Vella book, just titled, what is it titled? Well, let's pull it up here. Rob's getting forgetful in his old age. An Omnist Omnibus. Spiritual Musings and Poetry for the Age of Disinformation Disease. I think you can find it by searching for my name on Amazon if you'd like to read more. I'll be doing an audiobook recording of this and my other work sometime soon. The Kindle Vella stuff is going to have to wait for Amazon to figure out how to allow Vella authors to attach audiobook versions to those works. They don't seem to have figured out that piece of complexity yet in their product, but I'm sure they will. Okay, so today I'm going to be reading from an essay titled Gender Dysphoria, Feminism, Communism, Cosmic Oneness, and a Hive-Minded Future in the Universe of the Great Goddess BORG. Quite a mouthful. I'm not entirely happy with the title, but nothing has occurred to me that seemed to be quite as compelling. So there it is. And I start. This essay is going to explain many of the strange phenomena at work in humanity today, as well as likely make me an enemy of many partisans of one of the senior creators whose universe is best tuned to train the maintenance staff of the multiverse for an eternity of cleaning up cosmic latrines before the god plumbers need to be called in to avoid the total collapse of useful infrastructure. I know it will be rather unpleasant for worshippers of the great goddess, the divine feminine cosmic source, to hear their savior called BORG. But this is the best name to give to the god that many are looking to lead them to a future of peace, love, unity, and unlimited prosperity. Bear with me a while I show you why you might want to think a bit more deeply about your choice of religion, ideology, philosophy, before making this senior creator's vision your ideal, and set yourself on a path you might regret next time you hit the heavens. Before I go further, I need to remind you of some facts of nature that you may not be fully aware of, but which are central to my thesis. Think of the hive mind species we are most aware of, bees and ants. Their society has some very important characteristics, and there are no known counterexamples. First, they are all ruled by queens, a special class of female who are the only fertile ones and thus produce all of the next generation till they are superseded by another queen, though some species have evolved to have multiple queens living in apparent harmony, though how this harmony might evaporate under stress has not been well studied. The other females form the workers of the hive, tending to the queen's needs and defending the queen from any outside attacks. The males are drones, whose sole function is to make their genetic code available to queens and survive long enough to mate during a queen's rare nightclubbing outings. Drones are only fed to the extent that there are enough to guarantee a good selection of genetically diverse suitors in the neighborhood, and are actively starved or killed if their numbers threaten the hive's food supplies. Hives are instinctively excellent at managing problems that are familiar, but notoriously bad at dealing with novel challenges, which is exactly why bee populations are being threatened with extinction due to a variety of anthropogenic causes that they are incapable of dealing with. Now, I'd like you to consider how closely the evolution of human corporate structures, both secular and state, are coming to resemble these hive species as they grow and mature. and how this tracks with cultural trends toward gender dysphoria, militant feminism, exhibited by both females and their beta male drone protectors, and the trend toward ideals of religious or anti-religious unity in the form of cosmic consciousness oneness with everything, or communist globalist meritocratic utilitarianism, selfless virtue signaling service to a very malleable greater good. It is very clear that the trend is taking us toward an advanced societal version of the Hive species, with the technocratic and pop spiritual elites being the queens and their pampered favorite entourages. Feminine qualities are preferred for the worker class, so they can be more docile and tractable servants, while masculine qualities are the dark side of femininity are only encouraged and tolerated among the highest of the high, and those who aspire to rise among their ranks to any means fair or foul. The alpha queens and kings that set the tune that all around must follow or risk censure or economic to very real death. The mass of population are actively being programmed to be expendable drones who must either prove their fealty and usefulness to the hive or be ruthlessly exterminated if they show any signs of non-compliance with the current political correctness behaviors. Can it be pure coincidence that all these factors are pointing toward a hive mind future for humanity if we don't change course? I think not. Now why, I ask you, would we, after millennia of decidedly non-hive-minded organization, suddenly be catapulting ourselves towards hive mind? Is it because a hive mind is the only way for an intelligent species to organize globally or extraterrestrially? Or perhaps there is a larger agenda behind this trend? My experience has resoundingly led to the latter conclusion. In fact, it's entirely consistent with what I have been sharing with the world about the event we are in the middle of. So here's what I know of the situation, and you can draw what personal conclusions or inspiration from it you wish. As I've stated so often, we are in the final phase of testing and refinement of the latest version of the law of karma, a system of training and sorting souls, individual consciousnesses, for roles they are best suited to in the creation, evolution, and management of the expanding multiverse, which encompasses both physical material reality and spiritual reality, the two working together as both the source and validation mechanism for new ideas, great and small. Now, how does one organize creation to achieve an ever-expanding, ever-evolving system of building blocks, without the blocks and structures becoming so rigid as to stifle all future creativity, or so precariously balanced in perhaps beautiful but woefully unstable patterns that they risk collapse of the entire system? We have only to look at the globalist culture that humanity has crafted in its creative zeal to see just how difficult balancing these can be. The answer is the key to pretty much all the fundamental questions that plague philosophers, scientists, and artists to this day, and is exactly the answer that well-functioning human organizations, great and small, have put into practice for as long as their leadership retained any sort of culture of divine inspiration, and is why certain numbers, starting with the Trinity of Three, occur so frequently in highly functional, stable but growing systems. And this is the solution to the problem of all dualities and realities that will ever exist. Adequate, honest testing and refinement to ensure robustness that can withstand any shock. The essence of solving every problem is the pure and endless Trinity cycle of the scientific method: theory, idea, experimentation, and refinement to a new theory or idea. And the key to a never-ending experiment is to create a problem that has no perfect solution, but creates a pattern of inquiry that can outlast any seemingly perfect solution, no matter how much inertia has been built up behind any past perfection. This is the reason all current major experiments in creation center around sexual species, and why asexual, bisexual, or multisexual species never caught on as more than zoo curiosities. It's also why no species that promotes one sex or one individual or one class to Almighty God will ever again be the centerpiece of the leading edge of spiritual science. One is a lonely number, and loneliness breeds all sorts of insanity that masquerades as creativity and wisdom. Not that hive species aren't useful, even essential to the multiverse, just not what should ever be the law of the multiversal land. And here is where we must credit the senior creator goddess who perfected the first god-level hive mind species to earn her own universe of creation, her own brand of heaven for her followers. Her universe is the principal training ground for souls who gravitate towards service sector roles, from viruses and bacteria to the gods and goddesses of all manner of repair and resupply operations, so essential to keeping the infrastructure of the multiverse functioning as designed. These are souls who rarely question their assignments or orders, and also give and demand obedience to orders without question in turn, should their abilities merit a promotion to positions of power. Her universe, her training methods, and organization are well tuned to the purposes they serve in the multiverse, but they are not in any sense a universal good or even an indispensable part of creation. This favorite daughter of God has done a lot of damage in the Father's universe before she was granted her own kingdom, and that queendom of a kingdom will never be the prime universe, God's universe, the universe of successful creative evolution. Because God and all the other senior creators have come to realize that creativity is useless if it does not sustain a system of fair and just laws. No more than a set of fair and just laws could ever be allowed to dampen creativity and innovation. The prime universe, God's universe, is where the highest ideals of all souls must eventually come to be tested and stressed. And the universes of God's most advanced children, where they either come to heal from their failures, to dare to make a new attempt at their chosen mastery of God's universal rules, or learn from other similar souls to recognize their own failings and find roles more suitable to their weaknesses to contribute and achieve spiritual advancement in. There are a large number of human incarnated souls caught up in some illusion of oneness or unity today, and who, if this choice is driven by sincere passion and a desire to advance spiritually, may find themselves contributing to the physical and spiritual realms of the universe of the great goddess, or another of her proteges who has achieved their own universe of unproven creation, when they shuffle off their current identity. There are an even greater number, however, who are in this pole of worldview purely because of cultural indoctrination and more insidious forms of mind control, which are largely driven by the several hive species that hope to gain the most free souls cut loose from humanity as it makes the transition to becoming a god-level species, now that the experiment driving its creation has reached completion. One of these species, which the Bible knows as the Watchers, has been lending its support to the Gaia experiment, serving as the angelic, demonic, or paranormal agents of spiritual forces it identifies as the God they lost track of so long ago. These species, as allied, conspired, co-opted, and mind-controlled many human incarnated souls in the mistaken idea that when it comes to the divine plan, the end justifies the means. Their presence has been useful during the experiment as a spiritual pressure to generate the energies and synchronicities necessary for the experiment to finally converge, but now only serves the selfish agenda of trying to be the galactic species that benefits most from the spread of the new karma version to souls outside the test tube of the Gaia system. If you are among the unwitting servants and sycophants of the Watchers, you are likely to find yourself incarnated next among them, or one of the many species they have enslaved, where your reward for following their cult of one will be to see up close and personal what oneness of mind truly is like, and why it is such a terrible fate to condemn a species, planet, galaxy, or universe to for an eternity longer than the Watchers themselves have endured as a result of the great goddess's brilliantly bad idea. Now that might be just what you need to experience to jolt your soul out of a human experience funk. But if you already have a strong inkling of a higher creative mission, you may be heading for some very dark nights of the soul. But if you are a feminine inclined soul who inexplicably chose a male body for this incarnation, or an artistically or scientifically inclined soul drawn to the pursuit of fortune and fame by the easiest means possible, which in the globalist era is pop politically correct lying and falsification of truth to please the arbiters of New Age culture, to control the on-ramps of likes, shares, subscribes, and sponsorship grants, I strongly advise you to reconsider who you let program your mind and fuel your ambitions before your death makes a course change highly unlikely, if not impossible. God's universe of creative truth isn't the easiest place to master, but it's the only place where your creations will serve as anything but yet another example of where thoughtless, irresponsible, lawless, plagiaristic, or sycophantic creation leads to. Sure, some enterprising devil may one day produce a universe that attracts more spiritual energy than God's to its owner's version of truth. But there's not been one yet, devil or angel, whose vision didn't get blurred by the ambition to outdo a father willing to gift all his children with his image, a free will and free mind capable of conceiving their own universal solutions to the multiversal problem. I hope you enjoyed that reading. Expect another one soon. I just finished another essay today, and I plan to do a recording of it as soon as it's live on Amazon. Till then, this is Rob Trump with the Omnist Hour. I'm not going to ask for likes, shares, and subscribes. Why? Because I really don't care. If you enjoy what I do, that's enough satisfaction for me. Even if you don't enjoy what I do and you want to throw darts at me, that's a lot of fun too. At any rate, we'll see you next time on the Oneness Hour.